Hey everybody, Happy New Year! This is the first live tutorial of 2022 here on ClayShare. I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips, the founder of ClayShare, and I'm really excited to bring to you a fun night. We're going to be making soap dishes, and I've got a few examples right here of what we're going to be making. Now, we often have sponsors on ClayShare. Usually every month. Some months we take a break because things get pretty crazy. So this month our sponsor is De La Design Gifts, and their website is deladesigngifts.com. And that's Debbie Delacruz. Some of you know her company. And she and I have been partnering together, and she makes these great little cutters. And what I love about them is they've got not only the outside edge, but the inside slats for draining for a soap dish or sponge holder. She also has cutters that are like really great shapes for making dishes, platters. I got one back here. I'll see if I can reach it because it's up so high. It's so big. Look at this. So this is one of my favorites to use to make big platters and things. And she also does stamps, and you saw me using her Nomi stamps. But anyhow, she is generously sponsoring this whole month on ClayShare. So all of our live broadcasts at 5 p.m. are going to be dedicated to showcasing De La Design Gifts products in some way, in some fashion. And we're going to have Debbie join us towards the end of the month to do some tutorials, and she's going to be here tonight answering your questions. So if you have questions about her products, how to use them, or anything at all, just go ahead and type it in, and she'll see that and she'll answer them. And if she doesn't get them, I will ask her. So we'll take care of that for you. Now, I do have a tutorial on ClayShare on making soap dishes. I have actually two of them. One is making a soap dish without her cutters, so this is a great addition too. So if you've watched that one and you really like that class, you might like this as well. I think you're going to love it. And then I also have a draining soap / sponge holder that drains into the sink, and that's a different class, which uses no cutters at all. Still a great class. You might like that. Now, I get asked a lot about these cutters, about these soap dishes that we're going to make with the cutters. Do you need a plate underneath it? And the answer is, well, I mean, I can say no, you don't need one under if you don't mind like soap and water dripping all over your counter or wherever you're putting it, right? So when I make these, I make a little dish to go with them, just a little catch basin, and I'll show you how to make one of those too. So you just got some Valentine Gnome cookie cutters and a South Carolina cookie cutter from De La Design Gifts. Yes, she's awesome. She has so many cutters, you will love it. So I'm seeing everybody tuning in. Yay! So I do want to let you guys know, premium members of ClayShare, you guys have a discount code, which I did share in Monday morning's Good Morning ClayShare broadcast, and we will make sure you get that. I will share that in the private broadcast next for premium members. I'm not sharing the code here because it's only for premium members of ClayShare. Just a little extra perk of being a member. Now we are giving away, in conjunction with De La Design Gifts, a $50 gift certificate tonight for domestic and $70 for international to cover shipping, and that's to everybody. So everybody can win. And if you don't know how to enter our giveaways, you just sign up for our emails. If you're a premium member, you're automatically entered. Whew, I think I got all of the business stuff out of the way. Let's make some pots. That's what we're here for, right? All right, so let me show you some ones that I did. This one right here I made using the wave texture, and then the glaze on it is Peacock from Laguna. It's really a beautiful glaze. What camera's our close-up camera?
You're on one right now.
I'll go to
audio issues.
Okay, having audio issues. So Kev's going to fix that. No, we're good. I'll just show. There you go. It's fine. I'll just hold it up to the camera. I can do that. So this is that Laguna Peacock glaze. Really beautiful for texture. This is my spearmint right here with cream on the rim. So you can get my spearmint glaze from clayscapespottery.com, and the cream is their cream. I know it is cream on the rim. Yes, it goes blue. That is what cream does on my spearmint. On most glazes, cream stays white, but not on my spearmint, it goes blue. So this is actually one I made for my daughter, and it was in her bathroom, and I had to go snatch it from her. I did promise that I would give it back to her washed, because I did wash it before the broadcast. So she gets like mom doing dishes for her. And then this one right here, this is a really pretty one that I did, is a very autumn design. This is done with the pumpkin embroidery rolling pin, And then the glazes on this are the Chun Plum from Amico. And then I did on the very rim Ancient Copper. So that gives a nice autumnal design right here. So these are good choices if you have texture you want to show off. If you do not have texture, and you don't have to put texture in your pieces at all. I didn't on this one, and look how great that turned out, right? And you can use, you know, just really pretty glazes. You know the peacock technique that we've been playing with and doing a lot of glazing? If you make little teeny tiny, like little W's, those of you who've done it with me, you know I'm talking about when I say W's. If you make little teeny tiny W's, you'll be able to do it on here. Just watch out it doesn't run into the little drain holes and run away on you. All right, so believe it or not, this cutter, this giant, big as my head, football shape, once you make it and it shrinks down is this. Crazy. Magic of clay, right? Now these work so well with GR pottery forms. So for the oval, I use GR Pottery Forms 5" by 6.5" oval, and that's the oval shape. And it's kind of my favorite go-to for some reason. I'm really drawn to the oval. For the rectangle one here, I've been getting a little fancy. Here's one I did earlier that has not been fired yet. It's still drying. So for this one, I actually used GR Pottery Forms has these fancier forms, and I used the small rectangle of those. And then I've got these right here for it too, that are just regular rectangles, but we'll talk about those as we get into it. Put that back. We're not going to talk about texture on that. And then I want to show you this one right here. This was made with this cutter. The glaze is from Mako. It's Cenote. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Beautiful glaze. All right, so soap dishes. So many ways to make soap dishes. It's really nice when you're making pieces for sale or production. You know, if you're making pottery for yourself, it's nice to have shortcuts. That's why I love these. But if you are like me and has made their living off of pottery for many years, it's nice when you got to make many to get a consistent shape, and that's what I love about the cutters. So I know if I use this and this together, I will get this every single time, which is really nice if you're doing shows or fairs or have your work in shops to sell, because you can have, you know, I got a little stack of them, they all fit together, they're always consistent, and that's a really nice thing. So that's one reason why I love these. Let's grab some clay. So I rolled some clay out a little earlier. I've actually been working on a few projects in here this afternoon, so we just need enough to cut this off because we'll need to do our other dish, and I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, Instagram folks, I'm gonna scoot you down so you can see what's happening. Everybody else, you have the multicam view, so you'll be good. The oval addiction. I know. What is it about the oval? I don't know. There's definitely something to it. There really is. You love the scallop triangle. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh, by the way, the shape in here, I'm sorry I didn't mention that, is the GR Pottery Forms has spherical triangles, and it's one of those, and I honestly can't remember what size it is, but I do believe Debbie on her website does list the GR Pottery Form that works with the cutters. So she takes all the guesswork out of everything for you. All right, gonna need glasses for this. Let's go. So I've got a slab I rolled out. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick, and I'm gonna smooth all the canvas texture off that's on there. Now you could roll this out, you know, you don't have to use a slab roller. You could just roll it out by hand with a rolling pin. But usually when I work, and because I have a slab roller, I will roll out 25 pounds of clay at a time, so it's nice to have this. Ooh, you got your first wheel today. Oh, I'm so excited for you, and I'm glad you found me as well. Yeah. And Debbie just released a whole bunch of new shapes and sizes of soap dishes. So if you are into soap dishes or want to check out some of her shapes, go do that. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. I've been too busy, but I am going to get there. Okay, so you can just make this without texture. But why do that? That's no fun. Let's put some texture in it. You guys, you can pick the texture I'm going to put in there. Actually, I got an oldie but goodie that's coming back. Let me grab it. Let me see where I put it. All right, so many of you know that we make our own rolling pins in-house. And this one right here is one that was called Succulents in Pots that I made a few years ago, and it has not been available, but it's come back. But you will only know it from here to here. You won't know this section because these are all brand new ones I just finished drawing this weekend. So these are all brand new pots. Plus, you're never going to get a pin like this. I hand drew each one of these little succulents in their pots. I hand drew the little boxes they're in. So this pin will be available mid-month. There has been a little bit of a shortage for us to get our supplies. There's a wood shortage. No big surprise there. Everybody's having shortages. So we have been affected as well. But the good news is we should be able to get more wood on the 17th of this month, and we'll start making rolling pins. And when our next restock happens, succulents in pots will be available. And I'm just going to roll this by hand, like just using my hands instead of the ends. But check it out. That's pretty awesome. I love this one. So if you like succulents, like I like succulents, but you kill them all the time, you just get this rolling pin because it doesn't matter. Now they live forever on your pottery. All right, so wet clay likes to stick to everything. So I have found that a little bit of cornstarch dusted on makes things so much easier to work with. And the folks that are asking for the code for De La Design gifts, it's only for premium members of ClayShare, and because this is currently our free live public broadcast, we can't put it out during the broadcast. Even if you're watching on the ClayShare app, we will put it out in prime time next, so you guys can order. So I'm just dusting a bit of cornstarch on this. And the cornstarch doesn't hurt anything. It just completely burns away. Now here's the part that I always struggle. What part do I cut, right? My little succulents. We're gonna go here, although I love these little guys. Oh well. You know, gotta do what you gotta do. So do soap dishes work well for liquid soap bottles? Well, I don't think that would work. Because liquid soaps need to be in bottles, right? So that's probably not gonna work for you on a soap dish. These are for bar soaps. I keep meaning to do a class on making your own soap bottle dispenser, but it's on the list. So look, we have this really great football shape. Let's move this to the side. And then just pressing down lightly all the way around on the edges. And then if the inside is stubborn, I just take one of my wooden clay knives. You know, basic pottery tools, a wooden clay knife is a must-have for me. And you just use that to very gently pop these out. And that pops out the insides. We'll grab those. And you know, I have wedged clay back up with cornstarch in it and seen no issues at all. Not at all. Those who are looking at this thinking it's huge, let me just show you how much it shrinks. Again, if you're just tuning in. So it shrinks to a very nice size. Okay, so we've got our piece made, and then you can go ahead if you want to now and take care of your edges. I like to take plastic. I'm going to flip this over, and you just take your plastic and you use your finger to rub all along the edge, and that just takes away any sharp edge that you have. You can use your sponge to do something very similar if you want to. So I see folks are excited about the new pins. There will not be 7-inch pins. They do not have enough wood for me. Yeah, we cannot get the wood for the 7-inch pins right now. It's different size stock that comes in for the 12-inch pins versus the 7-inch, and they do not have it. Like the lumber yard does not have it. We cannot get it. So we rounded our edges, but I will let you know as soon as that happens. Now, when the succulents in pots comes out as a 7-inch pin, not all these succulents will be on that pin. there's just no way for me to make that happen. Okay, so we've got this ready. I've got on a piece of foam. This actually used to be a memory foam pillow, but you can use upholstery foam or anything you want. So you've got a choice. You can press this in. I have found pressing's great. It does tend to flatten your texture a little bit. So if you're concerned about that, my suggestion is this. We're just going to use the foam to help us line up our GR pottery form on our shape. And then what I'm going to do is I've got one of these are little GR pottery forms. I don't know what Jeff's calling these. They're little inserts or little risers or spacers. Spacer's great. Yeah, a little spacer. And you put that on there so that we have spacer. So funny. Space for the spacer, right? Can you get the oval without cuts? I do believe she does the oval without cuts. Yeah, I do believe so. All right, so we just use the foam to help us flip it over. Could I have pressed it into foam? Absolutely. The downside when I do that again, it could flatten some of the texture. I do it all the time. You know, I press textured things into foam all the time, and we don't really have much of an issue. But I want every ounce of it that I can get, so I don't want to thin anything at all. Okay, so we're just going to smooth this over on the back, go around the sides, just like this, and then we're going to let it set, right? But here's the thing. If you make it like this, it's great, but where is the water going to drain? You need feet of some sort. And I've got a few feet options. As you notice, these two are some stamps. They're actually sprig molds that I made from stamps. And this one here is just a little strip that I cut into sections and put on there and just stamped the ends just to give a little decorative effect. And then the one I just did today, this one here, I put a foot all the way around, and then I used a dowel to make the little holes for the draining. So that's what you get from your profile. And I still have to go back in and clean this up. This was just made, so it hasn't had its finished work yet. So you choose what you want to do for feet. You have a question about glazes. Your supplier is going to bring Mako glazes. Any suggestions on what colors look good on red clays? Oh, dark clays with Mako. I don't use a lot of dark clay with Mako, just because I usually use light clay. But let's get some suggestions from folks, and I'll share them with you. The Chun, well, that's Amico, Chun Plum. So that one would be good. All right, so we can cut our strips. Should we cut strips? Do you guys want to do that? Or do we want to do stamps? You tell me. And so Debbie says, yes, there are solid shape oval and rectangular cutters for doing the underneath plate or anything you want. So great. Woohoo! Emerald Falls is awesome on dark clay. Not tried that. I'm going to do strips. It seems big, Barbara, but my dear, it's going to shrink down to this. And it depends on the clay you're using too. Right? So if you're using a porcelain, you're going to get like 20% shrinkage. If you're using earthenware, you're going to get like 11% shrinkage. So it really does depend on the clay. And yeah, it's a generous sized soap dish. But oh, look, these lovely soaps were sent to us, but I cannot bring myself to use them. So what I like about this is, and this is a smaller than standard size soap bar. It would be a little longer. But what I like about it is you've got plenty of room on it so that your soap isn't sitting like up half off your dish, right? Strips or feet. We're going to do little strips, and we'll cut them off as little chunks. We won't do it as a full foot all the way around. How's that? We'll just do a little. So I'm going to slip and score in a few places, right? Like that. And then we'll slip and score on our strip. I just used a piece of the leftover clay from the slab that we put our texture in. And then we'll just cut this into 4 chunks. And then we'll attach it. So this one we don't need to be quite so long. So I'll cut a bit off and then do about the same on this side too. And then you can trim them down a little more to match them exactly. So I went to the halfway point of these little drain areas here for the sides. That's what I picked for my reference. So what plate goes underneath? I will show you. We'll make one quickly if you guys want. I'll show you a super fast way to make one. And then I'm going to make one using the cutters. Now you could stamp on these for your texture too if you wanted to before we went ahead and cut out our shape. And I do have some super cute stamps from Debbie too, so you can use whatever you want. All right, so for my edges on my feet, I like to take a dowel and roll up to it. Just kind of roll, and that creates a really nice little undercut look. And you notice how I got the dowel damp so that it will roll nicely, see, not stick. And folks on Instagram, I have the phone tilted down, so I'm sorry I can't see your comments right now. Yeah, they're really easy to make. These are really, I mean, I could teach somebody who's never made pottery before how to make a soap dish with these, no problem. So it's kind of a great project too if you're a teacher and you want to, you know, if you want to give a project to your students that they could actually do something very well and succeed in. You know, that's one of the things I like is when I can have new students and I can give them a project that gives them a sense of accomplishment, as they should have, because it's a pretty awesome little thing. All right, I'm just going through my stamp collection, trying to decide what. These are little bisque stamps that I've made. I don't have one in there that I want to use. Let's see where the rest of them are. They're kind of all over the place under here. No, we'll go with one of these. What do we got? That's a fun one. That's got some little fun lines on it. Oh, that's better. We're going to use this one. So these are all just handmade stamps. We've done many tutorials. I have classes on ClayShare, and I've done live broadcasts on making stamps. But just press it in. Look at how nice, look how great that finishes that edge. And then we'll do this one down here. And so this is going to have to sit. I would say overnight if you're leaving it in an area that's very humid. If you're in a studio that has forced hot air or it's really hot, then yours will be ready in a few hours to flip it out of the form. All right, so we'll set this one to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and quickly do a dish for you guys because you wanted to see a dish. So what do I do for my under dishes? You could get a cutter from Debbie that's the same exact size as the top if you want to. I just use the GR pottery form, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Same slab of clay that I rolled out earlier, so this also was 3/8 of an inch. So my standard rolling for plates, like dinner plates and smaller, I roll out 3/8 of an inch. Except when we make tiny trinket dishes, and then I go down to 1/4 of an inch. But by the time we put our texture and everything into it, it does shrink more. When I do big chargers, big platters, things that are like 22, 28, 30 inches in diameter, those big pieces like that, I like to roll the clay thicker. So I go to about 1/2 inch. Yeah, it's pretty thick. All right, I love the new ones. We'll see if we can get some of those into this. We're going to actually use, this is the same 5 by 6.5 oval that we used to make the soap dish, and so we're just going to use this, and we're going to cut right around. as our underplate. And I'm just lining up my design. Do you put the narrow end or the wider end? So the wider end goes up against the bottom of the piece when you're using the foot maker. All right, so let's just roll this in. Oh, I should have showed handles instead of. So my mom has arthritis, and so one of the things that I was thinking about is when you're somebody who, you know, if you have arthritis or any issues with your hands, it's hard to roll. Sometimes holding the ends are hard. So rolling from the center can be easier. And so I've been experimenting myself with different ways to roll the rolling pins. Just thinking about all the end users and all the different experiences they might have. All right, we're going to go here. So we're just going to cut out exactly along the GR pottery form. Maybe we will press this one in the foam. So there's going to be our catch basin or catch plate, if you want to call it that. And we'll do the plastic where we smooth our edge. We're just, see how I easily rounded that over in about 5 seconds. Done. Okay, let me grab my foam again. We'll press this one. We'll make it fast. Okay, so there's our catch plate. We don't have to put feet on this one at all. And then we're just going to put our GR pottery form on it. And if you live where you can't get these, you know, GR pottery forms hasn't been around as long as I've been making pottery. So before I discovered them, I would just use wooden plaques from the craft or hobby store, you know, the little wooden shapes, or if you know somebody that can cut them for you. So those work great if you can't get GR pottery forms. All right, ready? Just press down. Rock it a little bit. And then I flip it up. And then you can smooth it down with a sponge. Oftentimes I just use my red rib or a yellow rib to smooth that down. And then we'll flip it over onto a little board. Let me grab a board. Yeah, this is when I was making, you can see I was making soap dishes on this one a little earlier. And so we're just going to flip it out. You have the scallop football one, but they're really big. They do shrink down quite a bit once they get fired. Yeah. You roll from the center, not the handles. Yeah. You know, oftentimes that I find that can be a little nicer too. All right, so here we've got our catch plate, which if you imagine this sitting on it, of course this is, you know, significantly bigger because it's going to shrink down. But the great thing about this is I know it'll fit because this was made with one of these GR pottery forms, as was this. So whatever you use to make your dish for your insert, use the same thing to make your catch plate, and they will fit perfectly with each other. And the design matches too with the one I just made. So that's like a fun little thing and easy. Now, you might have noticed what I got going on with drying. So I often dry using these weight bags. Once it's leather hard, you got to be careful that it is a nice dry leather hard though, because if you put these weight bags on too soon, your little areas where the holes for drainage are will sag on you. So just keep that in mind when you're using weight bags. But you just put a weight bag on it. I didn't even cover this one up. I made this at lunchtime, and it is almost completely dry. I don't usually make things this quickly. I don't usually dry them this fast, but apparently I am for soap dishes. Okay. All right, let's grab some more clay, and let's see what we're at time. We got time. We got another 30 minutes. Well, not quite 30, but we'll grab more clay, and what we'll do is we'll make a soap dish using, why don't we use some Sandbow underglazed decals? That'll be fun. That's always fun. All right, let me grab my knife. I'll be right there. My slab roller's over here. All right, so just to show other ways that you can embellish your soap dishes. Now, I didn't do one just plain. You don't need to see that because just don't put any texture or anything on it, right? The catch plate doesn't need to be bigger. No, because your slots for drainage are right here. Actually, it could be anything. It could be this. I mean, you just need something it'll fit in, right? Something tiny. That's it. Can you let them dry upside down on the foam like the one I made earlier on the form? If you want to leave them upside down on the form, you can. The problem that you get when you leave them on the form is sometimes they warp a bit and you don't know if your foot is going to be flat. So what you might find is you flip them over and you put it down and you get rock, 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 rock. You don't want rocking feet. You can try to counteract that by putting a board on top of it as it's drying. That sometimes can help, but that also prevents it from drying up off the form and you might get cracking. So there's lots of ways to work around. I just have, I have suggestions I share with you all and the ways I do things, but if you have ways of working that work better for you, by all means, work the way you work. But, the great thing about these broadcasts is you all share your suggestions and what you do with not just me, everybody else that's watching. So it's a great way to spread information, right? Okay, so we're smoothing this down. Now I won't be rolling texture into this. So this could be a little thicker than I normally would have it. So I might take a rolling pin. Let me grab a plain, there it is, plain rolling pin, and just roll it a little thinner, just because we don't need the thickness that we're going to have, and I don't want it too thick. There we go. That should take it down a bit. That would be nice. Okay. So Sandbow makes some really amazing patterns. They also are the company that makes my designs. I do have a few designs with them. I need to spend some time designing a few more. But what I really wanted to do, and I'm torn, because I got my blue mushrooms, I got the mushrooms. And who doesn't want a mushroom soap dish? We're not doing snowflakes. I know it's winter, we all love snow, and I'm not done with snow, but I'm okay with other things right now. So I'm just going to scooch these along. Scooch is the word of the day apparently in my life. I've said it many times. All right, so we have got Scandy Birds in red. I've got mushrooms in black, blue, and Scandy Birds in black. So what do you guys think? Should we do a mushroom soap dish or should we do Scandy Birds? Something floral, trees. So premium members of ClayShare do get a discount on these cutters. We will be sharing that code after the broadcast in prime time, and we'll also let premium members know. We'll send out an email for you guys, but it's a special just for them. Everybody else, check out Dayla Design Gifts website and see what she has for her specials. She might have things. Mushrooms, mushrooms, birds, mushrooms, birds. Oh, it's even! Birds, 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 birds are winning. Birds is. Birds it is. Red birds or black birds? Let's do black. I do red a lot. I need to do black. So when I design these, I design them in the smaller 6x9 size. I do need to do big sheets. So those of you who have been asking about, will there be big sheets? Yes, I just got to redesign it because I actually designed this pattern only to be a small pattern, and it's not a seamless repeat, so it has to be completely redrawn in order to work. But I'll put that on my to-do list. All right, so I'm trimming the border away because I want these to abut to each other right up close. Now the other thing you could do, actually, you know what I'm going to do, is you could just cut a bit of it and then do a colored border. Let's plan on doing that. That way you're not wasting or using too much of the underglaze decals. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do the squares. There. Okay. Where did I put my square cutter? There it is. So taking a look at the square, it would fit if you want to go this way, but that's weird, right? That's sideways. And it barely fits here, but not quite, not quite. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and just cut it right here. I'll make a mark. Yes, I laid it on my clay. Don't get it too close to wet stuff. It's okay, but you know, you can end up pulling off your underglaze. Okay. I have enough to make both my pieces. We're going to apply this sideways, I know, just bear with me. So this is wet clay I just rolled out about an hour ago. And then using a rib, we're just going to smooth out from the center, and you'll start to see the design transfer. And as the black becomes more rich and deep, that's the design transferring to the clay. And you can speed it along with a damp sponge if you want to. Just like this. Because what happens is the water activates the underglaze that's on here, and it helps it to transfer. And that's what we want to do. Okay, but don't smear it with the sponge because you could smear the pattern, and that would be very sad. Okay, let's take a look. Peeling up a corner. You guys ready for the peel? So we can see, look, right there, it needs to have a little longer sit. So we're going to do 2 of them, right? Because we want to do the bottom dish. Or if you don't want to use your underglaze transfer on the bottom dish, maybe you just do it a solid glaze color that matches. Or maybe we do have this tiny little strip left. Maybe we just use this, right? And this becomes what we use for the bottom. Now the shape I'm going to press is going to be this one here, so I just need to make sure I have enough clay for that, and I do. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this one on here, like that. Now you get 2 choices with the underglaze for the border. You can paint it on now, or you can wait till after it's set up a bit and paint it on, and you can do more decorative swirlies instead of, you know, a straight line. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's going to be for later. This is going to be the now. Let's check and see how it's transferring. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to pull that off. And then we're going to go back in with our cornstarch. Now we're using the cornstarch, 1, because we don't want it to stick, but 2, the underglaze decal, the actual underglaze is still wet, and we don't want that. So we're just going to put a little cornstarch on it to set it. It won't hurt the design at all. We've had really great suggestions. Some folks like to use shakers with their cornstarch so that it can just be shook onto the clay. And that sets it. So if you're worried about your underglaze smearing, give that a try. So I trim the underglaze decal because if I want to add underglaze to the surface to create a border, I could do that while it's wet on the slab, and then peeling off, I've created a resist from the paper backing, which, you know, I don't want to do that today, but if I wanted to, that would be a great way to do it, right? So I think this one might have to sit a little longer, but let's give it a check and see. Yeah, that one needs a few more minutes. I don't think I pounced this one with a damp sponge, did I? There we go. Okay, so we'll let that set. Now I put the cornstarch where the underglaze decal was, but I don't think I put it where the cutter goes. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and cut. And I'll do a little black border, which will make up for the little bit of the edge here. Have I had issues with pinholes in glaze when used over underglazed decals? I have not, Jim, but I have seen a lot of people do. We've talked about pinholes a lot with underglazed decals, and we actually did do a glazing tutorial and talked about it. But I find that doing a hold makes a huge difference on your glaze firing. As far as those pinholes, it gives that organic compounds a little more time to escape. So that could be something you might want to add to your firing. All right, press those back down. And then we'll lift this up. So we have our soap dish, and I'm going to grab, hold on everybody, I got to sit on a board off to the side. All right, we're going to let that one sit, and then we'll put this clay off to the side. Oh, guys, I'm so jealous everybody's going to ClayCon West. If anybody's in St. George, Utah, the I think 14th through the 16th, is that it? ClayCon West is a clay conference happening, and Debbie Dela Cruz from De La Designs is going to be there. Look how great this one transferred. I took the extra time, pounced it with the sponge, a little more than I did on the other one, and it transferred. That's a perfect transfer. Like, that's probably the best you can get as far as all the color coming off. So, so Debbie's going to be there, and she's going to have her cutters and everything, and she's going to be doing, I'm sure, demos at her booth and everything. And so there's a lot going on. I am not traveling this year for many, many reasons. So sadly, I won't be there, but those of you who go, tell Debbie I said hi. I mean, she's watching, so you know, Debbie, I say hi. That was just silly. That was ridiculous. All right, so we're using this one tonight for this, and we're going to do this a little different. We're actually doing the plate that goes underneath first. And I'm going to show you, well, you know what, we'll just do it this way. We'll just do it this way. So you're just going to cut straight along. I know there's not an edge there. I know it's scalloped, but we're just going to cut as if there was an edge straight along. And you know, you can go back and you can cut that off if you don't want it. But this isn't, when I make these as a plate, I usually use a guide, little stick, but we're not making plates. No plates tonight, folks. Well, this one. All right. So we've got this, and I'm going to actually take a little more off the top so it's even. And then we are going to grab our block, our foam block, and we're going to press this. And this is going to be our catch basin. And, you know, you could use a different shape if you wanted to. That's, doesn't have to match. So we'll pull that off. When you use the GR pottery forms that has the little scallops, little fancy rims, I like to just drag my red rib down the side. I'm going to flip this over, pull it out. And so this is what I was talking about with these sharp edges. I will come back and I will go ahead and take care of these when it's dried a little bit. I'll just use a Surform and just shave it off so that it's a straight instead of these points. All right, so that's the catch basin. And then now we're going to go ahead and make our soap dish. And I'm going to use that plastic here to just smooth and round over the edges. You reuse any scraps, you cut your transfers close to what you need. Yes, I do cut my transfers a lot, and I have a little envelope or baggie depending on how big they are, that I put my scraps in because I can do patchwork pottery with the scraps. All right, let me grab my other board I've got over here. So, and that's actually a little thing we did. We did a patchwork pottery class. See where did I put that fancy shape? I just used it. Only I am capable of losing something 3 seconds after using it. There it is. I was like, no. All right, so we're going to actually do this one as a pressed plate using the fancy form. But you don't have to use one this big. If I wasn't going to use the fancy, I would use this right here, this GR pottery form, which is a 4x5. And that would make a perfect rectangle, but I want to use the fancy, so I'm gonna. But you do what you want. Okay, ready? Press. And then I'm gonna just flip it up. And we have another spacer. I've got a board here. So the spacer makes it so that we can put it on a board without the edges hitting the board. It's just a little nicer. How do I keep the edges of the catch dish not collapsing as it dries? That's all about your clay's dryness, and I do have a class teaching you how to make slab plates, and I show you the perfect dryness in that, and you just flip the corners up, and when the clay will hold itself up just a little bit on its own, you know it's okay to do pressed dishes. But do you see how this is? This is not going to collapse at all. It's going to stay just like this because it's dry enough. So I don't have to worry about that. Okay, on this one, do you guys want to do sprigs? Let's see if I can find my sprigs. Here we go. Here's some. What do we got in here? I got seashells. I got brooches. So sprigs are molds you make using, you can use stamps. I use this stamp and I make my own sprig. You can use wooden embellishments, buttons, anything. So here's a little sprig I made from, I honestly don't remember. Sorry. I think this was a wooden embellishment, little wooden flower. And so what I do to make sprigs to get a consistent foot is you start by rolling out a coil. So let's do that. Sprig away! You guys know I love sprigs. Just getting my coil ready. Okay, now we'll roll. So if you're rolling coils and you find they like to flatten on you instead of nice, pretty, round coils, I'm going to tell you, rolling a coil is an optical illusion because you're only rolling it away from you. The rest you're just pulling it back. Roll away, pull back. Roll away, pull back. You're not rolling out and back. If you actually put pressure on the back roll, you will flatten your sides. So when you see potters rolling coils and they've got both their hands and they're going and they're making these really great coils and you try and you get thunk, thunk, thunks, they're not actually rolling or putting any pressure on the back roll. That's just how you pull it back to yourself so you can do the next front roll, right? Okay, so let's see what size we want. I think we'll go to here. So I'm going to use that first one as my guide to cut. And this is just so I get nice, even feet. And I think this one's a little big. Turn that down a little. Okay. Now, roll these in the balls quickly. You made soap dishes and didn't put feet on them. Can they still be used? They sure can. What's going to happen is all of the water will drain between the catch plate and this area here, and it'll just sit in that, so you just have to drain it out. Just remember to drain them out on your own, and they'll be fine. But, yeah, I know that happens. All right, so we're just pushing this in, and it looks like a cookie, right? Cute little cookie. And you can pop this out, and then we can cut out around this shape, or you can just use that shape as the entire foot. I'm going to cut out around it. So it's a little extra step. So there's one. Boop. That's going to go there. And then we'll do the others. You sell the ones with no feet as sponge dryers. Yeah, they'll work great for that. Betsy, that's a great idea. Now sometimes when I make these, I just slip and score the sprig and I stick it on just like that. I don't pull it out. Depends what I'm making. But for these, I want to cut them out, so we're not going to do that. Sprigs are also a great thing for making pendants. If you want to make jewelry, earrings, you know, if you just want to make beads in general. They also make lovely embellishments on the piece. Like this right here could be a nice thumb holder on the handle of a mug. So imagine if you made a mug, I mean here's a done one, but you could add something like that on the handle for the mug. All right, we'll put that one there. Pop that one out. Let's do the next one. Clay's starting to dry. So you use sprigs like this to make a scarab that you can put on your pots. Yeah, it's a great way to create embellishments. And what I love is you can sculpt something once and then turn it into a sprig mold and make as many copies as you want. So you're not stuck sculpting. It's not that you can't sculpt it 700 times, but do you really want to? You want to make other things, right? So if you have a tool you've made of your own little sculpture, right, you use that. So that's what I do. So now we have our feet on here, but they're not attached yet, so we're going to slip and score. But look how cute those feet are going to be. And four works great. And I know people will say 3 is more stable. No, 4 is more stable. 4 is more stable because we're going to make sure it's level. So of course 4 is going to be more stable. Tripod's not always the most stable option in pottery. Sometimes they're tipsy, you know, when you make 3-legged things, and I do tripod mugs and tripod planters and such, but the problem is sometimes they do tip. And then, you know, there goes your tea all over the place. Or that's how one way you kill your succulents, which I'm known for doing. Okay, so there's our little sprigs on there. And then I like to clean up this seam where the sprig joins the clay. And I'm just using this little rubber tipped tool. It's called a color shaper. They now sell them as clay shapers. Before they used to only be called color shapers because they come from the painting world. But they're really fabulous. There, and just make sure we're joined well. And so the reason I smooth my seam and then I do a little more finishing work is the seam's clean, and any finishing work I do now is just going to make it look extra refined. Okay, so if I flip this over now, the center here is going to sag a bit on me unless I put another slab or something under it to support it, which, I mean, you can do. It just needs to be as thick as your feet. But I want to show you this, so I'm going to flip it over, and then I'll flip it back. You can make sprigs out of pottery plaster, absolutely. I don't use plaster in the studio much, just because I buy a bag, a 50-pound bag, and I end up forgetting about it, and then it hardens on me. So, you know, for me, it's just not. But sprigs are great because people don't need to get extra materials. But if you do a lot of work with plaster, make them out of plaster. Yeah, you can carve them out of plaster. So here it is, but we have this edge that's kind of naked. So I'll take, when this is leather hard, black underglaze, and I will just paint it on the very edge here with a paintbrush, and that'll just have a nice black edge. Kind of like I did with this that's blue, but I'll do it with black. So, what is my favorite clay for hand building? There's a ton out there that I really like a lot. I use Laguna B-Mix for the light colored. I like Laguna 60. I like Laguna 90. I like Tucker's mid-smooth stone speck for speckled clay. So here's one with a different design, and it's already shrunk in the drying. Isn't that crazy that this one has already gotten smaller in the drying just since I made it? And I only made this a few hours ago. All right, so isn't that fun to do? And then you get your little feets. All right, let's give away some stuff. We're going to give away a $50 gift certificate to De La Design Gifts. We're going to up it to $70 if you're international. So international folks, there we go. So international folks win, right? So, yay! All right. So those of you who, the wooden forms are from GR Pottery Forms. The cutters are from De La Design Gifts. And the decals are from Sandbow Studios, and their website is chinaclayart.com. And they have a ton of stuff right there, so you gotta check it out. So are y'all ready to find out who wins? So it's premium membership where you sign up for yearly membership. You just did that. Does that mean you'll be able to see the premium broadcast? Yes, you can, Carrie, absolutely. So if you've just signed up for ClayShare as a premium member, you'll be able to access that. You can watch it on the ClayShare app. You can watch it on clayshare.com. If you have it downloaded the ClayShare app to your Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, you can watch it on all those places. So yes, you're going to get to join us for tonight's premium broadcast. That's at 6:15 p.m., so just about 15 minutes from now. We're going to be glazing the fairy houses I got off to the side here, so it's going to be fun. All right, who wants to know who won the $50 or maybe $70 gift certificate to De La Design Gifts? And we're going to do another one next week. So we're going to do one all month long. And the folks asking about the code, no code's going to be given in this broadcast. You got to wait till the private broadcast because the code's only for premium members. Perk. Member perks, right? We give you lots of stuff, but we're going to give somebody a $50 gift certificate. So ready? The winner is Susan Frank. Susan Frank, congratulations. You have won yourself a $50, or if you're international, $70 gift certificate. We will be emailing you and getting that all set up. So your gift certificate is for De La Design Gifts, and you can use it for pretty much anything on their site, which there's a lot of awesome stuff, right? So good luck. So if you didn't win tonight, guess what? You get another chance next week. Now next week, Debbie's going to be traveling to ClayCon West, so I'm going to be doing a tutorial. We're going to be using some of Debbie's stamps to do inlay designs. So you make the stamp on the wet clay, you let it dry to leather hard, and then we do inlays with it. And so that's going to be next week, stamp inlay with her cutters and her stamps. So you're going to have to wait till next week to see what that happens then. But in the meantime, check out DelaDesignGifts.com. They have lots of great products. If you're not a premium member of ClayShare yet, go check it out. You can download the ClayShare app. We have a 7-day free trial. And then if you like what you see, you can just stay with us. We have a really great private group just for premium members where there's a lot of content in there and a lot of community resources. We have really great sponsor deals and offers. And like tonight, we have a discount code, well, actually the whole month long, just for premium members. So, all right, I'm off to get ready for glazing. I will see you all, premium members, in a few minutes. Everybody else, I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.